I want to welcome you guys. Thanks for coming today. And we know that there are people coming from all over. The ABHC, in short, is a coalition or a partnership of non-medical home care agencies that seek to further senior care issues, safe and best practices, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And we've got locations as member agencies. So for example, I'm from an agency. Many of you also represent different agencies, and we partner together. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. You know, I've got an initial presentation. We're going to switch gears a little bit. And we want to talk about how do you know? How do you know? I want to show you something that I got in the mail about 3 months ago. This thing, it's an emergency water heater shutdown instructions. Bright red, amazing. I thought, oh goodness, this is updated for 2016. I better take a look at it. And so I looked and I thought, what is this telling me how to do? This might come in handy in an emergency. And on the front of it is this whole thing. It's a big sticker. And it gives you instructions. It tells you to stick this on your water heater so that when something goes crazy, it tells you what to do. It says, you know, to avoid damage when leaking, it gives you these instructions. Turn off the gas. You know, turn off the water supply, drain the water, and then call the number nearest your location for same-day service. I thought, this is amazing. And then they have all their phone numbers at the bottom. I was so impressed with this piece of marketing material. I thought, this is really good. It's providing value, it's getting you to engage, it gives you something to do. And so I thought, I was going home to stick this on my water heater. And then I thought, yeah, I wonder what kind of reviews they've got. That's page 1. That's page 2. All of these locations got a 1 star, although there's an overachiever down here who has 2 stars. And it was crazy. I thought, it blew my mind, such an amazing piece of marketing material, such an amazing piece of collateral, and yet this is what the actual experience has been. And it ranged anywhere from, the main complaint was that people were being price gouged. They would call this number in a panic, they'd get somebody out to their house, they'd double the price of what the going rate was. And it blew my mind. I thought, no way. And so the question is, when you get something like this, how do you know? You know, you get a brochure, but how do you know? Now that brings us to this thing. I was given this piece of paper by one of the hospitals. Now you see at the top there, it talks about in-home care giver resources. I'm not going to tell you the name, but it may or may not rhyme with miser mermanente. And they give a disclaimer here. They say, we give you this list of all these agencies, these in-home caregiver resources. But we make no guarantees about the quality provided or anything. We recommend you research your options carefully. Thank you, miser mermanente. So I did a little bit of research. The ones in red are the ones that are not licensed home care agencies. We got this a month ago. Non-licensed home care agencies on that list. Nothing. Not pending, not licensed, no record. 44 companies, 21 unlicensed. So when they give you this little disclaimer at the bottom and tell you to go do your research, how does the average family who's given this list figure this out? How do you know? How can you know? You know, it's interesting. We did a study a couple of years ago where we polled and surveyed acute care hospitals about their referral practices. Now, we know anecdotally what referral practices are like. We know that they really don't do anything, but we wanted something quantifiable, something that was concrete. And so what we found, one of the questions we asked was, what information about non-medical home care companies do you provide patients and families upon discharge? So what do you think? Raise your hand. What do you think hospitals typically hand out to families? Brochures? A list? Who says a list? Who says brochures? We'll find out. Primarily, 80% of the surveyed hospitals give a prepared list of agencies. Kind of like, Miser Mermanente did. So then we found that while 80% of those surveyed hospitals compile a list for patient distribution, none, not one, of those hospitals screen the agencies that they add to that list. None of them. Here's a quiz for you. We're going to see how well we do here. How often do you provide, this is a question we ask the hospitals, how often do you provide patients with tools to screen home care agencies? So in other words, how are you equipping families to know? So how often, what do you think the 10% is? 10% often give them some sort of tool. Another 10% sometimes give them a tool. 80% never give the family a way to screen the agencies on that list. They get a list like this, and they have no way to tell who is doing what they need to be doing. So, what do we find from the data? That of those hospitals surveyed, 80% of them provide patients with a list, but almost 9 out of 10 of those hospitals don't provide them with any ways to screen the agencies on that list. This is what it looks like. So if you're lucky enough to be in one of the 10, the 1 out of 10 that actually does that, you might be okay. Otherwise, it's just a crapshoot. So what are the risks from a family going with an agency that is not licensed by the state or that sends independent contractors? Put up your hand, I'll call on you. What's a risk to families? Yes?
Financial risk, if there's an injury in home or with the caregiver.
Yeah, financial risk if there is an injury in the home or with the caregiver. What else? In the back, there.
HR, labor law compliance.
Labor law compliance. Families will face that, right? What else?
Financial fraud.
Financial fraud.
IRS. Taxes.
IRS and taxes. Yeah, families who are in their lowest point, all of a sudden, maybe because no fault of their own, not because a caregiver is trying to do anything sneaky, but just because of circumstance, an injury or unemployment or something, all of a sudden a family might have the IRS or somebody knocking on their door. Yes?
Elder abuse.
Elder abuse. Yeah, you get the idea that if there are agencies that are just not coming under the banner of complying with legal requirements, then there may be other things that are also lacking. Very good. So it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing for families out there. Now, the interesting thing, when you ask, how do you know, especially when supposedly everybody's supposed to be licensed right now by the state, and yet there's still such uncertainty and there's so much bad information going on out there, how do you know? Something we ask families, or I ask with referral sources as we go out, and we ask them, we say, if you knew that you were opening families up to legal and financial risk, would you still do it? Of course they no, I would never. Well, how do you know? And then they get a blank stare. I don't. But you can know. American Board of Home Care. American Board of Home Care has presented and provided membership lists, rigorously checked lists that show families that they're at least starting at a certain baseline of legal requirements. This list, one for each chapter, is given to them as a resource. So if they're handing out a list, anybody who's on this list has to be in compliance with licensing requirements, with workers' comp requirements, with payroll reporting, with all of these things, no independent contractors. Which list would you rather get? And so it's a really compelling thing. It's been a really neat thing to see over the last several years the American Board of Home Care has been around. The point of educating, the point of providing resources to referral sources, giving them things like these lists, so that they can hand them out to families without them having to wonder, without them having to screen anybody, and knowing that they're giving them a trusted source. Referral sources trust the ABHC. And there are a number in Orange County. This is from a few years ago. There's a reason why Hoag Hospital exclusively refers to the American Board of Home Care agencies that are certified. Why Mission Hospital puts that designation on their resource list, and why a number of these, even when they don't exclusively refer, they at least note it so that families have a way to screen those things. So what do member agencies find? Let me ask you this. If you're a member agency, I want to get an idea. What is one benefit that you've seen from being a member of the American Board of Home Care? Put up your hand.
Unity?
Unity? Yeah, have you found that to be true? If you're a participating member? I have.
Education.
Education. Yeah, and you hear things that are going on in other chapters. Things that are down in San Diego, if there's a labor issue, for example, might creep over to Los Angeles. And how did San Diego handle it? Absolutely. So there's community, there's education, there's unity, there's information, there's strength in numbers. And actually that's one way in which we're able to put something like this on today with the speakers that we do, because there's a lot of energized and motivated people in this room wanting to really serve seniors. In short, I would say that the ABHC is a community of like-minded home care agencies committed to protecting vulnerable seniors and their families through educating and equipping community resources. It's us, the members, doing this because we believe so strongly in seniors not getting something like this and finding out at the 11th hour that they're in trouble. We're doing work that matters, and so I want to first of all applaud those of you who have been a part of the ABHC and part of the mission, and I want to invite those of you who aren't yet part of the ABHC to consider joining. We've got some people who are from different parts of the state where we don't currently have chapters. I want to encourage you, if you're from Northern California, we're going to have an opportunity a little bit later, maybe around lunchtime, to gather together. We'd like to form a chapter up there so that you can take this message into hospitals, nursing homes, senior centers, and let them know that there are actual standards that are out there.